Good morning, everyone, especially to our instructor, Dr. Roger Anthony Gamali. I am Fidelister Lungay Panchito, BS Cream 3. In this video, I'm going to make a 45 minutes report about Chapter 6 and Chapter 7. So, what is drugs? Drug is a chemical substance that brings about physical, psychological, behavioral, and or psychological change in a person taking it. So, drugs is very known. It can change your physical, psychological, behavioral, and psychological when you taking it or abusing it. All medicines are drugs, but not all drugs are medicine. So, what is medicine drugs? A substance which, when taken into the human body, cures illness and or relieves signs, symptoms of disease. So, medicine drugs is like paracetamol, the medicine. It is a medicine we we take if we have a fever. What is dangerous drugs? A substance affecting the central nervous system which, when taken into the human body, brings about physical, emotional, or behavioral change in a person taking it. So, dangerous drugs, it is shabu, marijuana, cocaine, or other dangerous drugs that can change the person or can change a physical, emotional, or behavioral of a person. What is drug abuse? Any non-medical use of drugs that cause physical, psychological, legal, economic, or social damage to the user or to people affected by the user's behavior. Abuse usually refers to illegal drugs but may also be applicable to drugs that are available legally, such as prescribed medication and certain over-the-counter medications. So, classification of drugs. According to origin, according to legal classification, according to international classification, and according to pharmacological classification effects. So, according to origin, natural drugs are active ingredients, secondary metabolic products of plants and other living systems that may be isolated by extraction. Examples: raw opium, marijuana, coca bush. So this is the example of synthetic drugs are artificially produced substance synthesized in the laboratory for the illicit market, which are almost wholly manufactured from chemical compounds in illicit laboratories. Examples: methamphetamine, barbiturates. According to illegal classification, RA 9165, which is known Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, PD 1619, volatile substance, RA 6425, which is known classified as regulated and prohibited. Under RA 9165, the term prohibited and regulated was changed into dangerous drugs with the following classification: immediate precursors, a chemical substance used in the clandestine manufacturing process, becomes incorporated in full or in part into the final molecules of a substance under international control. Essential chemical substance used as reagent or solvent in the illegal manufacture of controlled substances. Narcotics, psychotropic, and designer. According to international classification, narcotic substance is any of a class of substances that blunt the senses as opium, morphine, belladonna, marijuana, and alcohol senses. Alcohol that in large quantities produce euphoria, stupor, or coma, that when used constantly can cause habituation or addiction, and that are used in medicine to relieve pain, cause sedation, and induce sleep. Psychotropic substance. It is a drug or other substance that affects how the brain works and causes change in mood, awareness, thoughts, feelings, or behavior. Example of psychotropic substance include alcohol, caffeine, nicotine, marijuana, and the pharmacological effects of the original drug while avoiding classification as illegal and or detection in standard drug test. According to pharmacological classification effects, stimulants, hallucinogens, depressants, inhalants. Stimulants are drugs which increase alertness of physical disposition. Example of this: amphetamine, street name, eye opener, lead popper, pep pills. Upper Hertz, what is reduce appetite, relieves mental depression, comfort, fatigue, and sleepiness. How to take orally as tablet or capsule. Effect: general effect: wakefulness, increased alertness, initiative. Toxic: from restlessness to coma and death. Danger: dependence, overdose, violent, bizarre behavior. Example 2, shabu. Shabu, methamphetamine hydrochloride, street name, poor man's cocaine. Is shabs, ubas, siupaw, siya, ice, what it is. white odorless crystalline powder with a bitter numbing taste. How taken, ingestion, inhalation, chasing the dragon, sniffing, injection, smoke. Effects, general effects, anxiety, irritability, irrational behavior, long-term psychosis similar to schizophrenia, difficulty in concentrating, loss of interest in sex. Physical, chest pain, irregular heartbeat, hypertension, convulsion, death, danger, injection from contaminated needles may lead to risk of infections, phlebitis, septicemia, AIDS, and etiquettes. Hallucinogens are drugs which affect sensation, thinking, self-awareness, and emotion. Example, ecstasy, street name XTC, Adam, Essence, E, Herbals. How taken, swallowing or inhalation. The effects of ecstasy, exaggerated emotions, mixed heart rate, and the BP hike up, dries the mouth, stiffen arms, legs, jaw, deltis, pupils of the eyes, cause faintness, chills, sweating, and nausea. Dangers, it can really kill. Example 2, LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide, street name, Lucy in the Sky, Wood 6 Diamonds, wedding bells, acid with sugar, lightning cubes, brain eaters. What it is? A semi-synthetic alkaloid substance extracted from a fungus which grows on rye, wheat, and other grains, odorless, tasteless, colorless. What are the effects? Psychological effect, vivid hallucinations, confusion, blurring and distinction between conscious and unconscious thought. Physical effect, dilated pupils, flushed face, increased BP, and etc. Dangers, may cause abnormal amount of breakage of chromosome of WBCS that carry genes which may result to miscarriages and birth defects. Example, marijuana, street name, Mary Jane, flower, pampugi, brown nines, damu, pot, tea, joint, dupe. What it is? Comes from cannabis, sativa, L, Indian hemp. Looks like fine green tobacco. How to taken? Smoke in pipes. Cigarettes can be taken in food, made into candy, sniff in powder form, mixed with honey or butter. What are the effects of marijuana? Immediate, faster heartbeat, blood shot, eyes, dry mouth, long-term chest pain, temporary loss of fertility, cancer, marijuana burn out. Dangers: slows down users' mental and psychomotor activities. Long-term dependence may lead to cancer. Depressants. So, depressants are drugs which depress or lower the functions of the central nervous system. Types of depressants. Narcotics. Narcotics is a drug which induce sleep, sleep hypnotics or stupor and relieve pain. Analgesics. Something that suits or cause a sensation of mental numbness. This includes opium, opiates, heroin, morphine, and codeine. Tranquilizers, a substance that reduces anxiety, ease tension, and relax muscles. Sedatives and hypnotics, calm the nerves, reduce tension, and induce relief. Example of sedatives and hypnotics. Example is barbiturates, alcohol. Inhalants. These are any liquid, solid, or mixed substance that has the property of releasing toxic psychoactive vapors or fumes. Example: solvent, glue, gasoline, kerosene, paint thinner, naphthalene. What are considered dangerous drugs? Dangerous drug is a substance affecting the central nervous system which when taken into the human body brings about physical, emotional, or behavioral changes in a person taking it. It is substance which when taken into the human body alters mood, perception, feelings, and behavior. Under Republic Act 6425, otherwise known as the Dangerous Drugs Act of 1972, dangerous drugs are classified into three main categories, namely prohibited drugs, regulated drugs, and volatile substances. A prohibited drug, which includes opium and its active components and derivatives such as heroin and morphine, coca leaf and its derivatives principally cocaine, alpha and beta eucine, hallucinogenic drugs such as mescaline, lysergic acid, diethylamide or LSD, and other substances producing similar effects, Indian hemp and its derivatives, all preparation made from any of foregoing and other drugs and chemical preparations, whether natural or synthetic, with the physiological effects of a narcotic or hallucinogenic drugs. as amended by BP 179 dated March 2, 1982. So, regulated drug. Regulated drug which includes self-inducing sedatives such as secobarbital, phenobarbital, pentobarbital, barbital, amobarbital, and any other drug which contains a salt or a derivative of a salt of barbituric acid. Any salt isomer or salt of an isomer of amphetamine such as benzedrine or dexedrine, or any drug which products a physiological action similar to amphetamine, and hypnotic drugs such as metaqualone, nitrazepam, or any other compound producing similar psychological effects as amended by PD number 1683 dated March 14, 1980. Volatile substance, liquid, solid, or mixed substances having the property of releasing toxic vapors or fumes, or any chemical substance which when sniffed, smelled, inhaled, or introduced into the physiological system of the body induce a condition of intoxication, inebriation, excitement, stupefaction, and etc. Republic Act 165, otherwise known as the Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, gives a single definition for prohibited and regulated drugs. The Old Law defines the term dangerous drugs as pertaining to either drug dependence, means a state of pituitary or physical dependence, or both, on a dangerous drugs, arising in a person following administration or use or that drug on a periodic or continuously basis. Characteristics of drug dependency. Physical dependence. The body's physical system changes until the body needs that particular drug in order to function. Mental or physiological, psychological dependence, a need or drug in order to feel good, to get by, or feel normal. Idiosyncrasy or side effect. Use or user refers to the act of injecting intravenously or intramuscularity, or of consuming either by chewing, smoking, sniffing, eating, swallowing, drinking, or otherwise introducing into the physiological system or the body any of the dangerous drugs. Sale means the act of giving a dangerous drug, whether for money or any other material consideration. Question: what happens to confiscated, seized, and surrendered dangerous drugs? Plant sources of dangerous drugs, controlled precursors, and essential chemicals, instrument, and or paraphernalia, and or laboratory equipment. Answer: the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA shall have custody or all dangerous drugs, plan sources of dangerous drugs, controlled precursors, and essential chemicals, as well as instruments, paraphernalia, and or laboratory equipment that are connected, seized, and or surrendered. The apprehending team or the group in custody of the confiscated drugs shall immediately prepare an inventory and photograph the items in the presence of the accused or his counsel. Comprehensive from the media, public official, the items will then be submitted to the PDEA forensic laboratory for examination within 24 hours after receipt of the items. The forensic laboratory examiner shall issue a certification of the laboratory results. The court shall conduct an ocular inspection of the confiscated items within 72 hours after the filing of the criminal case. The PDEA shall then destroy or burn the items in the presence of the accused. A representative official from media and DOJ, civil society groups, and any elected official. However, a representative sample shall be retained. After the judgment has been rendered in the criminal case, the trial prosecutor shall inform the Dangerous Drugs Board that the case has been terminated and as permission from the court to turn over the representative sample to the PDEA. Chapter 7. Examination of dangerous drugs. Drug testing is a form of forensic testing. Drug test results issued should be scientifically, legally, and forensically defensible. Drug identification is a branch of forensic chemistry that deals with the scientific examination of drugs and volatile substances. Drug identification is usually conducted by a forensic chemical office to determine the presence of dangerous drug on submitted specimen. The forensic chemist or chemical officer also conducts drug tests on body fluids of suspected drug pushers and users to determine the presence of dangerous drug metabolites. Paraphernalia like smoking pipes, toters, and aluminum foils should also be submitted for examination to determine the presence of dangerous drugs. Forms of dangerous drugs. Drugs are in various forms. This includes tablets, capsules, liquid, powder, brick or discs of marijuana, crushed leaves, and uprooted plants. Examination of the sample taken from the alleged confiscated dangerous drugs. Methods of examination: qualitative examination and quantitative examination. Steps common to qualitative and quantitative methods. Selection of method to be used. Physical test, sampling, sample preparation, chemical test, confirmatory examination, calculation and interpretation of dates, drawing of conclusion, and writing report. The thesis is the examination of the alleged confiscated dangerous drugs. Screening test, preliminary test, also known as the color test. This test is non-specific and preliminary in nature. It is employed to reduce the family or group of drug to a small and manageable number. Screening test includes a series of color tests producing characteristic colors for each family or group of drugs. This is done by adding specific reagent to a known sample in a spot plate. Screening test is quite simple to perform even by investigations in the field. As a matter of fact, field tests using these techniques are being taught in narcotics. Note: it must be noted that positive results of this test are not conclusive, as there are substances that may give same positive color reactions upon addition of the specific reagents. Hence, confirmatory test must be performed by the forensic chemist and chemical officer on case to establish the presence and identification of dangerous drug. It must also be noted that only those specimens that yielded presumptive positive results are subject to confirmatory test in order to confirm if the positive results of the screening test is really positive. Confirmatory test. Confirmatory test is the method employed to confirm the results of the screening preliminary test. This test involves the application of an analytical procedure to identify the presence of a specific drug or metabolites. This is independent of the screening test and which uses techniques and chemical principles different from that of the initial test in order to ensure reliability and accuracy. There are several methods used in the chromatography. Chromatography is the process of separating mixture and comparing the migration of each component with standard. Some chromatographic techniques include gas chromatography, thin layer chromatography, high pressure liquid chromatography. What is a gas chromatography? It is a separate technique. The mobile phase is a gas. Separation is based on the difference in migration rates among sample components. Spectroscopy, a confirmatory method whereby light is used to identify the sample specimen. Fourier transform inferred spectroscopy or FTIR, used for the identification of pure organic substances, identifies organic substances, particularly dangerous drugs and explosive ingredients based on their characteristic functional groups. In layman's term, the resulting spectrum could be referred to as the fingerprints of the substance. Ultraviolet visible spectroscopy, used for screening of dangerous drugs in urine specimen. Examination of the urine specimen. The rate of excretion from the body depends on the drug's solubility in fat. Water-soluble drugs such as cocaine are excreted quickly, while fat-soluble drugs such as marijuana may take several weeks or months before excretion. Drug tests must be conducted to apprehended individual who is suspected to be a users and instances when to allow unobserved urine specimen collection. When doctor is physically unable to go to the laboratory. When donor is involved in a crime scene. When donor is involved in post-accident trauma. When donor is critically 3. Different types of tempered urine specimen. First, adulterated. A specimen containing either a substance that is not a normal constituent for that type of specimen or containing an endogenous substance at a concentration that is not a normal physiological concentration. Fourier transform inferred different types of tempered urine specimen. Adulterated, a specimen containing either a substance that is not a normal constituent for that type of a specimen or containing an endogenous substance at a certain concentration that is not a normal physiological concentration. Second, diluted refers to a specimen with less than normal physiological constituents. Substituted, a specimen which has been derived through switching or replacement of the original sample. Ways to adulterate urine samples: addition of salt, addition of juice, addition of detergent, addition of bleach, and other oxidizing adulterants, addition of illicit drugs. Ways to substitute a urine sample. Urine from friends or other persons not using drugs may be used as substitute specimen. Replace sample with other substance similar to urine in appearance. Ways to dilute a urine specimen: internal dilution, intake of plenty of water before collection or drinking of herbal tea. External dilution, it is additional of water to previously collected urine. Parameters for validity test. Initial validity test. Physical characteristics such as color, odor, and etiquettes. Volume, temperature, pH, specific gravity, nitritis. Confirmatory validity test. Physical characteristics such as color, other methods for confirmatory validity test. Physical characteristics visually determined. Volume same as physical characteristics. Temperature using thermometer. pH meter calibrated with appropriate buffers. Specific gravity use a perfractometer. When do we consider a urine specimen invalid? A urine specimen is considered invalid under the following circumstances: adulterated substitute or diluted, improperly collected, handled, and improperly documented. And that would be all. Thank you and God bless.